Brian Mitchell.
And I'm Joseph Nixon.
And this is Rotten 90s Movies. And the movie this week is...
It's so important to make someone happy.
I don't know what film you're talking about.
It's Sleepless in Seattle.
I thought you meant Con Air.
No,
it's Sleepless in Seattle, which was written and directed by Nora Ephron.
In 1993.
Yes, and what do you have our kind of list of things? What's the cast? Is that the first thing we discussed?
Well, I think first of all we should sort of put this in some kind of historical context, shouldn't we? Because so it's sort of a thematic sort of sequel. This to When Harry Met Sally.
Yeah, which was Rob Reiner's film, but not of Nora Ephron's screenplay.
Which is a couple of years before, isn't it? And that
1989, it's about 4 years before, I think. Actually.
Yes, no, you're right. And that starred Meg Ryan, who's in Sleepless in Seattle, but it didn't star Tom Hanks. It's got Billy Crystal.
Billy Crystal, that's right.
And
Rob Reiner's in it.
And Carrie Fisher's in it.
Yeah.
And it's a good film. The last third of it's a bit soupy.
Yeah, it is a very good film, I think. It holds up very well. I don't necessarily believe in the ending of it, but
it's kind of believable.
Yeah.
And Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan are believable as a sort of on-off couple of friends.
It's a very smart screenplay.
Yeah.
And it's very funny, it's witty, it's got a lot of good human insights in it, and it does slightly undermine itself at the end, but
in fact, it's very similar to The Sure Thing, which is also a Rob Reiner film.
Oh yeah.
It's still got the same plot as that, except it takes place over a longer space of time.
And it's very good. Meg Ryan's very good in it.
It's a rom-com. She's very good in it, and we should also point out that Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan were sort of the movie couple of the 90s, weren't they?
That's
right. 3 films together: Joe versus the Volcano, which is the first one.
That really stinks.
Sleepless in Seattle, and then You've Got Mail, which is 1998.
That's right.
Which is a remake of The Shop Around the Corner.
Which Shop Around the Corner is one of my favourite films. I haven't seen You've Got Mail for that reason. I couldn't. It's just not going to be as good. That's my view.
Okay, so very fair point. The cast of this.
Well, how did it? What was the budget? How did it do?
It did very well, I think. It was a
big hit, wasn't it?
Estimated 21 million budget, and worldwide it grossed 227 million.
That's Murray Simon, our producer.
Hello,
ladies and gentlemen.
What did you think of the film, Murray?
I enjoyed it to a point. I thought it was it started off very well and it went to an interesting place, but then it got very creepy, and then the ending was just a bit daft.
Well, let's talk about the cast.
So we have Tom Hanks
and Meg Ryan.
Tom Hanks as Sam. I've forgotten his name.
Sam Baldwin.
Yes.
And Meg Ryan as Annie somebody or other. Get your gun. Annie Oakley. I don't know.
Annie Reid.
Thank you, Annie Reid. Tom Hanks is. What do you think of him in the role? He was a sort of big star back. No, he's still a big star.
He's very dependable. I mean, he's good in it. He's a bit morose, but he's meant to be.
I thought certainly in the beginning of the film, I thought he comes across as a bit of an arse. I mean, I know his wife's just died and everything, but
there were quite a few things that did that. That were part of the movie. I think his relationship with his son is kind of really not very good. It seems to me,
I agree. Sorry, Murray. Who's the actor who plays his son?
The son is played
fat-headed
by Ross
son.
Mellinger.
What was it?
Mallinger.
Yeah. Oh, the kid's the kid's very good. He's cute, and that's what's required, and he does it very well.
And I think we have Rosie O'Donnell as Meg Ryan's boss.
Yeah. Who's just doing Rosie O'Donnell. Rob Reiner does a little cameo.
And you've got Bill Pullman as playing the thankless role of the fiancée who she's not meant to be with, and she's got to get rid of so she can be with Tom Hanks.
Yes, that's right.
David Hyde Pierce.
David Hyde Pierce pops up as Meg Ryan's
tiny little role, But that was the cast. What's the plot?
The plot, which is a strange plot, I think. The plot is that Tom Hanks' wife dies of cancer.
Yes.
And he's heartbroken. And to sort of try and start a new life, he moves himself and his young... How old is his son?
8 years old.
8 years old. His 8-year-old son. From Chicago...
To
Seattle, where they set up a new life.
Big move.
He's an architect, which is one of those sort of phony movie jobs, isn't it? Really,
yeah.
They like it, I think, because there's lots of blueprints and things. That
and it seems to be both creative and yet practical. Yes. So you kind of cover both bases.
I'm always remember the architect in what's the film, Hannah and Her Sisters, who's always seducing women by taking them along the landmarks of the city.
That's it.
But we don't actually see him doing any architecting in this film, do we?
It's just one little bit of him being at work immediately upon burying his wife, and I just sort of thought, this is most odd. I mean, I'd just come out of university, I guess, and was struggling to get on as a writer then, but I don't really remember in the world of work people going straight back to work after burying a spouse.
Not the next day.
I know, no. not even within a couple of weeks. I remember them sort of having compassionate leave, I suppose. Yeah. It was, for a while, and nobody being expected to sort of get back on the saddle, get back on the horse. Do you
no, that is a bit odd.
It's very odd,
isn't it? Anyway, so they moved to Seattle. Incidentally, this film makes a big deal about how Seattle is a long way away from Baltimore.
Yes,
and it's meant to be an insurmountable thing that they can't be in love because they're so far apart.
Yeah.
Well, I know Americans. Americans will drive from New England to Chicago just for a pizza.
There's an enormous amount. There's an enormous amount of internal migration in America, which I've been surprised by. Just moving from job to getting a new job means relocating and going boom.
So it's not that far, is it? Of the flight, it's.
No, well, it's obviously it's easier if it's somebody who's nearby, but
Yeah, but it's. I mean, it does make out like it's
everyone
sort of go, hey, she's in Chicago. What am I going to do? But it's not.
So what meant?
So
he makes a kind of his son sets him up for a sort of radio broadcast, a kind of phone-in show.
This happens quite soon, though. It's like a year since the wife has died.
Very, because the son had used to listen to this show. We believe, we're led to believe, when they were in Chicago. So he rings this sort of phone-in show and Network America or something like that, and says that his father's very sad. It's Christmas, and could we try and get and the radio psychiatrist, the kind of Fraser Monkey, says something like, get your father to the phone. I'm sure I can deal with this, and he's kind of hoodwinked into opening up about his sadness over being
over the air,
on air, and it's meant to be so touching that immediately thousands of women across America who listen to this show want to date him.
Yeah, and
send him
write
in letters. He's getting inundated with mail from women who find him tremendously romantic. I suppose this is the place where people write letters to serial killers on death row. So
they should have made him a serial killer.
Maybe it's really believable. And Meg Ryan's character, she's
a reporter.
Yeah,
she's another phony movie job.
But by accident, kind of he's listening because I don't know why this is set up particularly, but she's returning from this Christmas do that she's gone to with her. She's introduced
this movie makes a big
possible fiance to her family.
Makes a big thing about destiny, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So she has to go back because she's forgotten something, and then she happens to be driving and turns the radio on, and here's this thing.
But they're driving in separate cars anyway.
No, I know.
Why does they have to make her go back? Why does that make?
Also, it's a bit dodgy, isn't it? Because if it's her destiny to be with Tom Hanks, that means his wife has to die painfully of cancer.
Yeah, well, there's the whole thing. There's the whole idea that's put through the movie is that they are destined to be together. This leads. This kind of is quite dodgy.
It's a bit problematic.
It causes all kinds of problems. There's a suggestion that she's virtually a kind of living reincarnation of his deceased wife.
Yes.
There's a moment where Meg Ryan has been peeling an apple in one where the peel comes off in one go.
And that's what his missus used to do.
And Tom Hanks later describes that this is what, as some reason that something that he loved his wife for was that was a thing that she could do as well. And you think, well, this is a bit creepy. This is a bit sort of necrophilia, and so anyway, they're very confused about it, and they're over this idea of destiny and magic, and I get very annoyed about these kind of films that do this, because Slumdog Millionaire does the same thing. It's
everyday magic.
Well, it's very clear that Nora Ephron, who's a smart cookie, her books, her writing is funny. She's a clever woman. She doesn't believe in destiny.
No, I can't imagine she does.
Nor does Danny Boyle. So what? Clearly he doesn't. So why? What do they show a sort of cynicism, I think, in viewing the ordinary mob who are paying to go and see their movies, in viewing them as people who are saps for this stuff. So they're going to dole it out, the bowlful, and we're going to lap it all up while they don't believe it. Which makes them like, an 18th century country parson, it seems to me. Well, they're just going to go off after church and immediately get in the saddle and go hunting,
Yep.
This will just keep them happy. Essentially, Nora Ephron is being cynical, I think, in this. She doesn't believe in destiny.
No, I don't.
But I think what impelled it was the notion that she wanted to do the opposite of When Harry Met Sally. So When Harry Met Sally is about two people who've known each other
since college
for years and years and years, and they didn't get together. This is the opposite. She's going, I will do a film about, where we don't see them together at all, and they have no knowledge of one another, And so I think that's the only thing that drove this, was just the sense of trying to do the opposite kind of romantic comedy.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Anyway,
so she listens. She accidentally in her car hears Tom Hanks banging on about how he loved his late wife.
Yeah.
And kind of becomes obsessed with him.
Yes.
Almost immediately.
Yes. Yeah. We have to watch her react to the same passage of dialogue with Tom Hanks talking on, because they repeat it. We have to watch her react to it twice.
And she's crying.
Yeah, she's crying the second time because she realises she's obsessed with this man who, to be fair, he doesn't say anything
particularly interesting. He just says, "I loved her, and I'm sad she's dead." And it was like magical when I was with her. Yeah. And
it's like any episode of Simon Bates' Hour Tune.
Yeah,
essentially. And here we are now with Paradise by the Dashboard Lights. This is for you, Denise. So it's. That's about as profound as his
it's talk radio. Yeah. It's not that profound.
And she falls for him. We're meant to believe she falls for him. We're meant to believe that thousands of women fall for him, and she realises that her engagement to her impending marriage to Walter, which is a Bill Pullman character that they can't make up their minds about, that's lacking the kind of sense of magic and destiny that she feels that this being called, she's called to really by this radio broadcast, and then because she's a reporter, she uses her contacts and her wiles to get details on him, and
it all gets a bit odd. It all gets a bit stalkery, doesn't it?
And stalks him essentially.
She does. She stalks him.
She finds a private investigator to take photos of him.
Yes, she does. Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yes, she hires a private investigator to take photographs of him on a date.
Well, because I was thinking. I think part of the reason the major reason this film doesn't work, is because of Meg Ryan's character. And what Meg Ryan is good at, or was good at, is, I think, playing a woman who's sort of awful, but you love her at the same. It's sort of like Andie MacDowell in Groundhog Day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where she's an appalling person in some ways. She drinks to world peace.
Yeah.
But you can understand why Bill Murray falls in love with her. Yes. She's sort of lovely.
Yeah.
And Meg Ryan does that in When Harry Met Sally. She does that very well. She's, got these very irritating characteristics, but there's something.
But she's simply irritating in this.
Well, in this,
she's massively, I mean, hugely annoying. There is nothing winning.
No, she's
about
flaky.
her character.
She's sort of really self-absorbed and obviously sort of hurts Bill Pullman's character in lots of ways and doesn't really care about it.
Catastrophic ways ever.
Yeah.
And she's sort of unhinged. I mean, she really is.
Yeah.
I mean, she's hiding in the closet on listening to the radio.
Yes.
And
that's a terrible scene.
It's a terrible scene.
It's really awful. Attempt to inject some comedy in some far. We'll come to that in a second. But
it's not really.
Who cohabits with someone, gets engaged to them, and then decides on Christmas is the time to introduce the entire family?
Oh no. So basically, Hanks's son takes again this new date that Hanks has got.
Yeah. So Meg Ryan's with Walter.
Yeah.
Tom Hanks finally goes on a date
with somebody from his work.
Who's called Veronica or Victoria, I think, who's perfectly nice. The son doesn't like her.
Yeah, because she's got a bit of a laugh like a hyena, obviously.
Shakes her head about a lot. But she's perfectly nice.
Yeah, and the son doesn't like it because he's convinced that this letter, he's been vetting all the mail that his father gets, and he's convinced that this letter from Annie.
And she mentions a baseball player who she says is the best baseball player.
This letter from Annie, which her mate, her boss, Rosie O'Donnell, has sent without her knowledge, is the one, and that this is the woman for this is what the woman he wants to be
destiny,
his father's wife, his sort of stepmother, and so convinced is he of this that he persuades his mate, whose mother works in airlines or something, young girlfriend,
to book him on a plane to New York.
Book him, even though he's 8 years old, to pretend he's of age to be able to do this, to book him on a plane to New York, because in the letter, Meg Ryan says that she's that if he's interested in meeting her, that she will be at the top of the Empire State Building
on New Year's Eve.
and no, not New Year's Eve, Valentine's Day.
Sorry, Valentine's Day.
And that he should come and meet her there. So the kid has decided that because he can't persuade his father, who thinks that this is too great a distance, he can't even
reasonably enough. For a woman he's never met. He might be a lunatic.
The child is convinced this is the one, so he decides to go on his own to go and meet her to try and bring this relationship together. The father finds out that his lad has disappeared, and finds out from the lad's mate what has happened, and goes to the Empire State Building, and there he meets they meet Meg Ryan.
She's the last scene of the film.
The last scene of the film. There have been moments where he spotted her when she's been stalking him, and sort of like they've nearly spoken. There's obviously some kind of a little charge of electricity you're meant to believe between them, but even though they don't know each other properly, she obviously knows who he is. But eventually they meet after various toings and froings, and the charge is instant. So they hold hands, and they're obviously destined to be together. Yeah.
So we should point out that this is a romantic comedy where the two main characters don't meet until literally the last
scene,
minute.
The very last. They haven't had any proper connection. They've just said hello to one another. They've not even had a phone conversation.
No.
There's been no interaction at all. We're just meant to believe that there is this love between them, that is sort of like this charge, this destiny, this kind of almost a kind of love at first sight. But even deeper than that, they're trying to suggest some force that is pulling these two together that you must go along with, because that is an elemental force in the universe.
Greek drama idea. This is destiny.
And there the film ends. What are your general thoughts about it?
I think it doesn't work at all, really. Tom Hanks' character comes across as a bit of an arsehole.
Yes.
I think. I mean, all sympathy to him. He's bereaved, but he comes across as a bit of a prick for most of this film. I think doesn't seem to get on particularly well with his son.
No. I mean, there's several things. I mean, he pulls the boy away from his friends. Because he says, "I want to." The boy's mother's just died. And he goes, I don't want to be in a place where I'm reminded of her, and takes him across the far end of America. And the first thing you'd be doing is thinking about trying to keep the boy entertained, not to doubly bereave him, also, there's that opening shot, which is really weird, of the funeral, where of the wife, where there's just him and his son standing alone, and all the other mourners are at the far side of the grave. I thought, that's just very odd. That never happens, And so it's just really, really, really weird. You imagine doing that, just like not trying to comfort or stand around on the shoulder. I've been to some of these funerals, ladies and gentlemen. You don't do that. So that's very odd.
He comes across as a bit of a prick. I think the son comes across as a bit of a prick.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think Meg Ryan comes across as a real
lunatic.
Certifiable.
Yeah, no, I mean...
this is really classic romantic comedy behaviour that will get you sectioned in real life.
Yeah, no, not remotely winning as a character.
Standing in the middle of traffic.
Yeah. No, she's incredibly annoying. And, I've just...
Although, mind you, as soon as Tom Hanks sees her, he immediately starts to stalk her, too.
Yes. No, it's true.
Yeah.
But
the other thing, I think is really noticeable about it is that this is meant to be a romantic comedy. It's not remotely funny.
Apparently, originally it was not intended to be a comedy.
Oh, right, okay.
It just became a comedy through production.
Right, okay. Well,
was it meant to be a horror film? Because it kind of... You could easily have this as a horror film, couldn't you? About a woman who gets obsessed with this man she's heard on the radio.
It's like a bunny boiler, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, they reference Fatal Attraction,
well,
in it.
No, that's the only funny scene in the film, is the row with the son. The jokes about Fatal Attraction are good. That's the first one I thought, it's actually come alive. Actually, there were gags in it. The only other thing that is funny, I quite like with Rob Ryan a bit, but that just stinks of him ad-libbing. It feels like this is a fairly lame script from Nora Ephron, I would say. There's virtually no gags in it. There's no real gem insights in it.
The other odd thing about this film is it's one of those films that sort of piggybacks on another film because in it the Meg Ryan character is obsessed with the movie An Affair to Remember.
Now,
all the women are.
Yeah, all the women are. Now, this is something I wanted to mention because An Affair to Remember is also a dreadful film.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a terrible film. And the interesting thing, it might well be forgotten. It may be different in America because their TV networks show different stuff here. I watched all the matinees with my mum and my grandma.
You've seen every film made
every single
since
film made.
1930
I've watched so many. I've seen every romantic film. God knows. My mum, it's had to sit with my mum and watch Jolson Sings Again and Now Voyager. Whenever it was on the television, my mum watched it. Right. So I had never heard of Affair to Remember, and I don't think anybody that I know of had heard of it or seen it.
I never heard of it.
And suddenly, I remember people sort of spoke about it as if it was this great classic film because it's referred to in this movie. And and since actually, An Affair to Remember had been forgotten. Apart from obviously by Nora Ephron, who obviously liked it. And I've no idea. I think it was shown again one Christmas here in the wake of Sleepless in Seattle.
All the women in this film know it intimately.
Yeah, no, I know, but nobody I know knows this film. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, but. It's disappeared without trace since Sleepless in Seattle.
It is a weird film for them to use as the reference point, I think, rather than something much more famous or much more obscure. I suppose.
I don't. They talk about it as if it is the most well-known weepy, and I just didn't know of it. And I have watched every old film and pretty much every old weepy.
Yep. I can attest to this.
So and had you ever seen it?
No, I sort of vaguely know the plot.
Because of Sleepless in Seattle,
she gets crippled in it, and he doesn't know, and then it's one. The plot makes it sound like the worst film ever. I have to say.
It's a notice here. One of the things that I thought was really curious in the movie was and it shows the relationship between him and his father not being very good. He leaves him on his own in the house. He's 8 years old. There's a bit where he's obviously been to work. He goes, I'm home, whatever, and you think...
We never see the kid at school either, do we? No. The school holidays in the film, but no, this goes on for months. To slightly give the impression that the kid doesn't have any life, really. And he's just left at home. It's very odd, really.
There's also, one really terrible there were some really bad gags in this. I mean, not only is there a lack of gags, where there are gags, they're not very good. The flying lion gag is terrible, absolutely terrible.
I thought that.
And there's as I mentioned, the fatal attraction jokes. There's a sense where there's this bit where they, you're talking about it piggybacking on other films. It does the inevitable thing where it tries to recreate the apartment. Shirley, what was her name? MacLaine running through the streets with the music, running through Manhattan. That and Woody Allen running through the streets at the end of Manhattan,
and Dustin Hoffman running through the streets in The Graduate.
In The Graduate, yeah. So and it tries to do that, and we were talking about how. Yeah, and then it has the jazz playing to sort of inject some sense of comedy and fun into a screenplay that is failing to deliver it. And there's and it reminds me of, we were talking about this, at the end of Manhattan. I don't know why we were talking about this today, but at the end of Manhattan, they have that sort of cliche of him running through the streets to try and find his lover, stop her before getting on the plane. And of course, she gets on the plane, and it isn't resolved, which is the reason why that's there. It's a joke. And Frasier, you mentioned, does the same, doesn't it? Where
the famous episode where
he runs to stop his seeming destiny from getting on the plane, and they're actually forced to. The plane's delayed and they're forced to talk to one another.
And they haven't got anything in common. They
find out they've not got anything in common. So this is a cliche, and it's piggybacking on lots of other movies, not just An Affair to Remember.
Can I just say, I think the worst joke in this film is the tiramisu joke. Where for some reason Rob Reiner says you're going to have tiramisu with this woman or something like that, and Tom Hanks thinks he's talking about some sort of sexual activity. And I thought, for fuck's sake, he must have heard of tiramisu. I'd heard of tiramisu when I was about 13, and I'm from Mansfield.
Yes.
It's not the most obscure dish in the world, is it?
No.
I love it.
I'd not had it before. I think I was about 1990, 91.
You'd heard of it. So you knew what it was.
There was a large chance, given the huge Italian population in America, that they know about tiramisu. There were loads of terrible gags in it.
There were lots of terrible jokes in it.
And it can't make up its mind. It can't make up its mind about the Bill Pullman character. It can't make up its mind whether he's genuinely annoying, therefore you should root for her not to be with him, or whether he's fine. Actually, it's just that they're not destined to be together, and it can't make up its mind over what to do with
Bill
that.
Pullman's quite a lot better looking than Tom Hanks.
He's much more conventionally handsome than Hanks. He's got this weird sort of,
also, on the evidence of this film, he's a nicer guy than Hanks. Hanks comes across as very prickly, and short-tempered in this film.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously that's meant to be his
reaction to his wife dying. I understand that,
but it makes it difficult for the idea that anybody's going to be attracted to him, there, doesn't it?
It's hard to root for him as well, I think, because he just comes across like an arsehole for a lot of this film. Angry with his son, angry with life generally, prickly.
Don't you think it's weird that she's the job is at the Baltimore Sun, which makes it the other noticeable work of fiction set at the Baltimore Sun is The Wire. But sort of a newspaper that I'd never really heard of before.
No, it's true.
But there's this is a small detail, but Baltimore and Seattle are northerly cities.
Yeah, I think so.
Right, I'm pretty certain Baltimore is. I know Seattle certainly is. Seattle's very sort of northerly, and it's set sort of from Christmas to February.
Yeah.
And the weather seems fine. I mean, Seattle gets very cold, I understand.
It's always often raining in Seattle in the scenes in this film, isn't it?
Oh, right. Well, I haven't really seen any rain in it. They mention the rain.
They talk about the rain a lot,
but
don't
there's no snow. And there's no intense cold. I mean, that's a small thing, but it's not that small a thing.
No,
it's sort of like you kind of like ground something in some sense of some reality. I think You know, I mean, in Metropolitan, when I should mention it again, but when you know they have the whole opening is about the fact that he's not got a winter coat.
Yes,
you know, so weather is important.
No,
in
it's
storytelling. True. Anyway.
Anyway, as we were saying, yeah, he comes across as a bit of a prick. She comes across terribly. I think as a sort of not only a stalker, but sort of trivial-minded. I thought, and not very interesting, and obsessed with this man she's never met in a really retarded, if I can say that, not meaning in the sense that one's not supposed to say these days. In a way that's emotionally retarded, like a 12-year-old girl would be.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Crazy. Yeah. I think that is fair. Yeah. What would you say is the best bit?
Well, I think the best bit, because not everyone's good at this, and there should be more of it, is the bit with her family, where her and Bill Pullman are there, and you've got the guy who's going, "I'm allergic to bees."
Oh yeah. I like that. Yeah, no, I thought that was good. I liked. I mean, the soundtrack's great. You know, the soundtrack album, I think, was a hit in itself.
It was. I heard it quite a lot because our mutual friend Ian Shaw had it in his record collection. His CD collection was the strangest CD collection of anyone
there was that,
in history.
and the whole of the soundtrack to The Prisoner. So I was sharing a house with him, I think, at the time, and I thought it was going
everything Tom Waits had done, and sort of done Enya or something like that. You think, where's he got this? Yellow.
It's a great soundtrack. And actually, you get the sense that you feel that the song's going first.
Yeah.
You sort of get the sense that sort of like, no, everyone's going, I like this song, I want this to be in it. I'm going to write this scene according to this song.
I mean, there is something essentially, as you said before, there's something very cynical about this film, I think, which there wasn't about When Harry Met Sally.
No, there isn't. No, When Harry Met Sally's smart, essentially, and then is romantic.
Yeah, this sets out very cynically to tick point A, point B, point C of what a romantic comedy is. That's the soundtrack. We've got these actors. Yeah. This is the plot.
Yeah. But they don't have any interaction with one another.
No, they don't. Which is why it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's a worst bit.
Sort of any bit with... I know, the worst bit is when Meg Ryan, for some reason, puts herself in the closet on the phone listening to the radio.
That's awful.
And then...
That's true, yeah, that's the worst bit.
Bill Pullman surprises her there.
But nothing happens.
And then nothing happens. I was expecting him to say, look, what on earth is going on here? I want to split with you or something like that. But nothing happens.
Nothing happens. It doesn't lead to it. It's a ridiculous thing where they think, I've got to have some farce now. And also, improbably long telephone wires in this. Don't you find? I mean, sort of like, I remember having to get a huge extension cable, but there's a scene where the son and the father are going from opposite ends of this huge house and managing to sit on the same sofa with two telephones with this is not radio telephones, enormous cables stretching yay far. It's ridiculous.
The creepiest scene I found was when she's just watching them on the boat.
Yeah, that was horror movie.
Hiding behind houses, stalking them.
Yeah, no, it is. There's a definite stalker vibe through it, isn't there?
What's the best performance in this film, do you think?
Oh, probably the boy.
Yeah, the kid's all right, isn't he?
Yeah, probably the boy.
Worst performance?
Oh, Meg Ryan.
Yeah, no, she's
awful. What about what's the saving grace? Is there a saving grace?
Well, it's hard to say, isn't it? Oh God, the soundtrack's good. It's reasonably well photographed and put together, isn't it? He lives in a really nice house in Seattle with a deck and everything.
I think the ending is very well done. It's the ending of a different movie. It's not the film you've seen. It's not emotionally delivering on what, but it is very well done. And I think if the film was successful, it was mostly because anybody hadn't walked out of the cinema before that point. I think they got the ending on and got teary. And that was probably what carried it.
Along with that. I think the ending kind of works.
And I like the map. I know it's kind of cute. I know it's sort of a bit cloying, but I do like the sweet map with the little stars of the plane lights. So I think that looks nice. But no, the ending's well done, I think. But the first half of the film in particular is just
It's intense.
I'm remembering the scene in the restaurant where she breaks up with him and then love hearts appear on the Empire State Building and she says, "It's a sign."
Yeah.
No, it's Valentine's Day.
I
know. But again, that's the cynicism of these things.
Well, there's a bit where the Tom Hanks character says, "Look, that's a sign," and he's right, isn't he?
Yeah. No, there's
he's literally given her the engagement ring, and she gives it back, and he's completely unaffected.
No, I know.
He just shrugs it off.
She is deluded in this film. She is a deluded woman.
Yeah. So, what would you say makes this a rotten 90s movie?
Shall we talk about better films on a similar subject?
Yes.
Because, of course, there's When Harry Met Sally, which is another Meg Ryan film. I'd say even Joe versus the Volcano is better than this.
Yeah, even though that's lousy.
Yeah.
At least Joe versus the Volcano has a kind of absurdity on its... it's going out for absurdity.
Yeah.
I
mean, better romantic comedies. Annie Hall.
Do you know the thing that I made a note here? The thing that I think is most similar, in a strange way, is Seven Chances, the Buster Keaton movie.
Yes.
Because, and the reason why, I think Seven Chances is probably Keaton's funniest movie, actually. It's like loads funnier than The General, which is massively overrated. Seven Chances is very, very funny. It's the one where it's an old farce that they scrubbed up, and what it's got all the things that this fails to have. It's got believable reasons why loads of people want to the great gag in Seven Chances is that he has to get married without somebody knowing why he's wanted to get married, otherwise he's going to lose his fortune, his inheritance.
Yes.
And he's a very shy man, and it forces him to finally open up to the woman he genuinely loves. And there's reasons why he has to do this. Him and his buddy, they've been swindled out of money. They're going to go to jail, for this business fraud or whatever. So he has to get somebody to marry him before noon on a certain day. And in despair, his friend puts out an ad unknown to Buster Keaton saying, there'll be loads of money if you turn up at this church at such and such a time, to be ready to marry this man. And of course, Buster Keaton, absolutely exhausted of all his efforts to try and find a wife, goes to this church where he thinks his friend said, just go turn up at the church. He falls asleep, and when he wakes up, the church is full of women in bridal outfits. And then of course they turn on him, because they think they've been swindled, and there's a fantastic chase scene, very famous chase scene. But of course, there's very good reasons why they turn up, which is money, incentive.
Well, it's also a bit like a Miracle on is it 39th Street? Because lots of people write in because they think Father Christmas is on trial, which obviously
34th Street.
34th Street.
Yeah, 34th Street. Yeah. Yes.
And they're coming with all the sacks of mail, which is totally believable. It's not that believable that anybody would want to get married to Tom Hanks, is it?
Yeah, but you were saying Harry Met Sally is a much. Actually, another film fairly similar, right about the same time, which is actually better, I think. It's not a great film, but it works. Is the It Could Happen to You, the Nicolas Cage and Bridget Fonda one about the lottery winners.
The cop in it.
The ticket. I think
it's based on a true story.
Well, it's based on a true story for starters, so it kind of has a kind of feel the smack of some
Sleepless
kind of.
Sleepless in Seattle seems like it should be based on a true story because that's the only excuse you could have for the plot.
Yes,
I think, but it isn't.
No,
as far as I know.
No, as far as I know, it's not, and it doesn't really ring very true. Maybe this did happen somewhere, but they don't recreate it in any believable sense. I don't think
they do not. Okay, so what makes this a rotten 90s film? There were a couple of weird sort of pre-internet computer sequences, aren't there?
Yes.
where she's trying to track him down, and it takes ages for her to try and track him down, like typing his name into this database.
Oh yeah.
And then there's a joke about booking the airline seat online.
Pre 9/11.
They let this little terrorist on. It could be anyone.
More chance of getting killed.
There's a weird acronym sort of joke in this, a bunch of which seem to me to be very 90s, where the kids keep saying BFF or TLL or whatever.
There's also, I mean, a lot of these early 90s films, there's also just a little bit of new man politics.
Yeah.
There's a bit where he's talking about, did a man being able to declare his feelings. You'll notice this a lot in early 90s films, particularly. There's
terrorist jokes.
Yeah.
More chance of getting killed by a terrorist.
Yes, that's right.
Or marrying the right person, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, that kind of does make it a lot nice. But and also that it is Hanks and Meg Ryan.
Yeah, that's true.
That's But marks out of 10.
I'm going to give it a 3. I think. I really didn't like it. It seemed to go on for ages, and it's really hard to like a romantic comedy when you don't really root for either character.
No.
Really,
and they've got no relationship with one another.
And they have very little chemistry in this. I mean, obviously, they don't meet until the last minute of the film, but even then, it's quite hard to buy into the chemistry, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mainly because of her, I think. Mainly because she comes across as a lunatic.
Yeah. Mummy.
I didn't hate it. There was bits of it that I didn't like, so I think I'd give it a 5. 5, 6.
Right.
And what about you, Brian?
4. I can understand why. I just think it gave enough at key moments to make it a kind of weepy comedy for it to be as successful as it was. But the rest of it, I think, is a sort of travesty. Really, it doesn't work at all, But at the key moment at the end, it manages to sort of deliver this thing that obviously people who are susceptible for that or wanting it to do does. I mean, it didn't for me, but I could see how. I would
say, maybe it's a chick flick. Maybe it's not meant for someone like me. But then again, why doesn't that hold for When Harry Met Sally, which is I do think it's a good film. So
exactly. No. I mean, it's not so much. I think it's a chick flick, although it kind of does talks about that at some point, doesn't it? It's a really unfunny scene, but it's more people who I think of either sex who are wanting to buy into the idea of destiny and magic and romance. I guess they're probably going to be more susceptible to it. I just don't think it manages to. I don't think it establishes it at all strongly, and Meg Ryan's very, very, very irritating.
It's like tiramisu. Looks great, but then it's got a mess on the plate.
Well, one word.
Annoying, I think. I
was going to say exactly the same word.
She's annoying, he's quite annoying, the kid's annoying, the situation's annoying, and I was just exasperated through the whole thing, really.
Annoying's my word as well. Can I have that?
Yep.
Yeah, Murray?
Dull.
Yeah. It's flat, isn't it?
It's very flat.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Right,
okay.
That was Sleepless in Seattle, which will put you to sleep if you watch it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and join us next week for another Rotten 90s movie.
Thank you.